Good evening. Welcome to the preview of the workshop that we'll be having over the next weekend on Saturday, the 18th of May. If you have not yet registered for that, it's a free workshop on monitoring and evaluation. Actually, we talk about results-based monitoring and evaluation here at Research Training Academy. Welcome. To this preview, go to www.richacademy.coza. You'll find under courses, you'll find this workshop is free. You just enroll there and we'll send you the link during the course of the week for the for that workshop. So we are going to really deal with fewer issues, overview of M&E, principles of M&E, and the importance and benefits of M&E, but we'll also really not deal with M&E integration today. We would find some time during the course of the week so that you come to that workshop having a bit of a basic understanding of what we're talking about with the M&E. But during the workshop, you will learn quite a lot how to develop M&E system, how to develop the M&E plan, and we'll deal with what goes into all these issues. So with regards to the definition of M&E, M&E is an ongoing process of collecting information or data to track progress towards goals and objectives, because that is very much important that whatever we are tracking, whatever data we're collecting, it should be pointing to what was the original goals or objective of either a policy program or project. So we need to consistently measure whether we are towards achieving the goals and objectives. That's very much important of monitoring. The evaluation is different from monitoring, but it's not really far from monitoring. We're just saying that this is the review. We're looking at the review of policy, programs, or project in terms of its design, execution, and outcomes. So, in other words, evaluation, we're looking at whether the program has been effective in terms of achieving its objectives, whether it has been efficient, whether there was efficiency when implementing activities that would then lead to the outcomes or the goals of that policy or program project. So there are other people that believe that evaluation must happen at the end. And in our case, and this is proven by different literature, is that evaluation must happen consistently throughout the policy or program stages. Why? Because when you plan, you are planning for implementation. And in that planning, you have a lot of plan that you put there in terms of the technology that you're going to use, the kind of resources that you need, how we're going to collect data, all those kind of things. So if then you don't evaluate whether this data would work or not, then you're going to have a problem. That is why one of the methodologies that you can use for evaluation is cost benefit analysis. But the best to do cost benefit analysis, it is at the beginning, because you start to check whether whatever you're going to invest, it will be able to give you the results that you desire. So that is how we would then describe the M&E in brief. But also, we are saying that M&E is very much important in terms of yielding data that will be used by management or anybody to make informed decision, but also to enhance the quality of the program. Because at the end of the day, the programs, the project, the policies that must be developed must be able to lead to the results that we've envisaged. That's why the issue of quality comes in. But also, also M&E will assist us to quantify achievement, because at times people will say we've done one, two, three, four, but you can't quantify that because there's no data. So M&E provides opportunity with that data to be able to quantify what we've achieved, where we failed, but it pinpoints to areas where there's a need for improvement. But also it fosters issue of beneficial transformation. How then do we transform the work that we do to make sure that we are successful, to make sure that we bring innovation, we bring technology in the work that we do. But also it helps in terms of optimizing resource allocation. You might be involved in a project, maybe other activities are beyond schedule because of lack of resources. Monitoring it, what to help you is that you'll be able to realize that this task is behind because of the perhaps maybe resource that perhaps are lacking. Then you're able to then allocate those resources in those tasks. But also, an element of accountability is very much important, whether you're in the private sector or public sector, because at the end of the day, we have to account to other people. Public sector, you have to account to the citizenry of this country. The companies will have to account to the shareholders and the boards. So so it guarantees that you'll be able to account because you have data there that you can use for that accountability. But because you have data, because you have stakeholders that are involved, the element of transparency is very much important there. You'll be able to be transparent, but also it helps in terms of organizational learning based on what the policies have been performed, the programs the projects have performed. You are able to say, this is what we have learned and what we do from what we have learned, and then the process of improvement will also start there. But also, we know that this data that comes as a result of conducting M&E, it will then also showcase the effects of intervention, enhance performance, and integrate acquired knowledge into the decision-making procedure. In other words, now the 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 interventions that perhaps are brought in during the implementation stage, maybe of a policy or a project, can also help with all the data when the managers have to make a decision at the end of the day, because that is very much important. When people make decisions on the basis of information that can be relied upon, you begin to realize that then the M&E is very much crucial for 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 one to have it in the organization. And you find that in other areas, M&E is only done at the end, perhaps because there could be issues and then people start to think of M&E. That's why Diffie says it's an ongoing, it's a continuous process. You don't stop M&E. It continues because you need to improve. You need to see whether your projects, your policies, are they leading you to where you designed in the beginning when you said this is the project objectives or this is the policy objectives. So it's very much crucial that we do practice M&E all the time. So the other issue that we'll look at is the issue of the principles of M&E, which is very much crucial to say what are these principles and why they are very much important. Um, M&E really cannot be effective without stakeholders. That's why I said stakeholder centered. That means it may need collaboration, it may need consultation, partnership with others. Stakeholders. It could be internal or external stakeholders, because in organizations you find that there's a business unit that deals with M&E. You have a unit that deals with programs. You have a unit that deals with policy, HR, finance, and all those business units. So now, if you want to really practice the effective M&E or the results based on M&E, you need to bring your stakeholders to the table so that they form part of that M&E strategy, so that they are able even to bring some inputs that could help you to assist in terms of even developing your M&E plan or M&E system. But it also must be relevant. it cannot be just we are doing this for the. It must be relevant to the issues at hand. If you are dealing with a project that focus perhaps on agriculture, on housing, or something like that. So whatever that we are doing, it should be able to be relevant, but also speak to the people there. That if we are talking about building houses, when we are doing M&E, when we say it's relevant, it means that whatever the project that we're involved in, for instance, the building of houses there, is that what that community wants? That's the issue of relevance. The issue of efficiency, is it the tools that we are using, are they efficient to enable us to achieve what we want to achieve? It could be the issue of cost, the issue of technology, the materials that we're using. Are they in a way efficient to help us? When we look at the effectiveness, we're just looking at whatever that we are using, how effective is this to achieve the desired goals in terms of the policy, programs, and projects. The issue of sustainability is very much important because at times people just do M&E occasionally. So M&E must be sustainable in organizations. And for it to be sustainable, that's where you may need to be resourced, to be capacitated, to be supported from the top leadership. And you learn these things as we talk about M&E integration to other issues such as planning, budget, performance management. So issue of sustainability is very much important, particularly when we discuss results-based M&E. The other issue of ethical consideration. So the ethics part of it, as an M&E practitioner, you need to make sure that whatever we're doing, we are ethical so that the results are not questioned by people. Because remember, in the organization, your MA results, there's no guarantee that will be accepted. People who may not be in support of your findings in terms of what the data is telling you, they may not be happy. And if now you are found to have been unethical when collecting data, you may have some challenges there. But also, it must be centered on the principle of continuous improvement. That is what every organization would want, that there must be continuous improvement. What we do today, tomorrow must have improved on. In other words, we learn from what we would have done today so that by tomorrow there is improvement of that project, of that policy. Because if there are failures, we need to learn from that. We cannot continue to do one and the same thing. And then we'll also touch base on the issue of the importance and benefits of results-based and M&E. What's the significance of this results-based and M&E? The significance is that it's critical for the successful implementation of projects, programs, and policies. So, in other words, if you have M&E, you are likely, and if you are doing it M&E the right way, particularly the results-based M&E, you are likely to have successful implementation of your projects because you are able to track them, to check their progress, to check whether the indicators that you have put there, do they address the objectives, do they talk to your objectives, but also it promptly identify potential issues and implement corrective measures to ensure achievement of objectives. So because it's possible that now you may have issues in your programs or policy as you are implementing it. So when you're using M&E, then you are able to identify those issues and implement corrective measures so that your project or policy is on track now. But it also helps managers to assess the success of policies. So they're able to assess, and that's the question of evaluation. They're able to assess whether this program is it successful or not. But it provides stakeholders with crucial information on the status and outcomes of the policy or program or project. So that's why we're talking about also the principle, the issue of stakeholders, very much important, because now we know that M&E, it provides the stakeholders with crucial information. You are working with different stakeholders. It could be your funders, your sponsors, the communities, your implementers, because at times when you are in policy space, you may not be the implementer. And normally that is how it works. Implementers will be different people. Somebody who is developing a policy, for instance, on small business, maybe sitting with the Department of Small Business, may not be the implementer of that policy because you need other stakeholders. You need National Economic Empowerment Fund, you need the IDC, you need different players to come to play. So that is why we say it provides stakeholders with crucial information so that they could use that information to make their own determination. But also, if you are following really M&E, managers will be able to enhance outcomes by monitoring key performance indicators and making data-driven decisions during monitoring process. It's very much important that during M&E process, we make data-driven decisions because if your decisions are not based on data, you are likely to get it wrong. And when you get it wrong, you are spending resources that perhaps could have been spent somewhere else, yet you can't deliver on what you are supposed to deliver because your decisions were not based on the data. But also managers can demonstrate the impact of policies, and it's very much important. At times, people would say we've achieved this, we've done this, but we cannot demonstrate. So with M&E, because it provides with data, you are able to demonstrate that in terms of this indicate this is what we've done, in terms of this indicate this is what I've done, this is the outputs that we have, and this output have led to these outcomes, or all those kind of things. So it's very much one of the huge importance of M&E, so that it gives you now an ability to demonstrate what your policy programs and projects have in the broader context and how they've contributed to it. So the activities that you have done, the outputs, all those kind of things, how did they contribute to this impact that we're talking about? And remember, in terms of the results logic model, the impact is the last issue because it's a long-term result, and then we have outcomes. So most of the time we're measuring outcomes, but based on the outcomes, we're able to assess whether what kind of impact have we got out of that program or policy or project. Now let's look at what are the benefits of results-based on M&E. It's the openness and accountability. So the organization would benefit because now you have officials, employees, stakeholders being open, and the issue of accountability, because at times there's always a question of accountability that people are busy with projects and policies, but we don't see accountability, and because we don't see accountability, we don't see the results. So when money is being spent, resources are deployed there, but there's no accountability. So if you are practicing M&E, the data that you would have gathered, it would then provide the openness and accountability. But also it helps organizations to identify issues at early stage. This is very much benefit of M&E, because if you identify issues at early stage, you are able to correct them. It's worse when you identify um, at a very later stage that perhaps the how this project was implemented, there were issues, and you are realizing this when you are approaching the project close or the policy close. So that means that there's not much you can do, and that's why you'll find some of the projects being abandoned. But millions of rands have been spent on those projects. It is because there's no M&E. Because if there was M&E, and an effective one, which is results based, they would have able to identify issues at early stage. In other words, the M&E would have then indicated that when it comes to this stage, you must be able to track. So you must be able to do it. That is why M&E, we also speak of the issue of communication as a key. Normally, maybe weekly or bi-weekly or monthly, there's a communication plan. You know that every Monday there's a progress report on this issue that must be shared with the stakeholders. There is a budget report that must be shared with the stakeholders. There's this kind of report that must be. So that makes help organization to identify issues at early stage, but also optimize issue of resource allocation. And I think I've said this when I was talking about the overview of M&E. So with your resources, and at times you have limited resources, so M&E would be able to assist you where to put your resources instead of just uh, allocating resources in such a manner that you over allocate and you under allocate in other areas, and areas that are under allocated are not performing, or you over allocate resources in a task that is over performing, but because over performing, the other activities that depend on this activity cannot move because their resources that allocated were very much not optimal. But it also helps with uh, organization to derive lessons from mistakes. In other words, you are learning from mistakes that we have committed. What have we learned from the mistakes that we have committed? Maybe one issue that we've realized when we're implementing the policy was that during the design of the policy, perhaps certain stakeholders that would have played a fundamental role in the implementation were not involved. So with that process of M&E, now we start to learn to say, oh, this policy had failed because stakeholders that would have played much crucial role couldn't play that role, and therefore, in the next project or next policy or next program, will know that we need this kind of stakeholders to play that role. But it also enhances decision making. There's nothing effective as making decisions when you have data, because the decision that you are making, it should be based on something and it should be based on data. But we also talk about organizational efficiency. What M&E does in the organization is that the organization becomes efficient in terms of its processes, efficient in terms of how to allocate resources, how to use resources, building capacity. So the whole organization can benefit in M&E, and it also helps in terms of building the type of culture that you so desired that could then contribute to enhanced M&E. But it also helped to facilitate replication of successful programs and policies. For instance, you were involved in this kind of project or policy, and it was so successful, you followed certain stages during the implementation or during the design. um, so it means that when you go to a project that could be of similar nature, you are likely to follow the same process. That's why we talk about facilitate replication of successful programs or policies. But it fosters innovation. That is one which benefit. How data has been collected many decades ago, it's no longer the same how we use today. You might be using technology, you might be making sure that your stakeholders are very much closer, you must be using softwares and all those kind of things. So that's why we talk about fosters innovation. But the last issue in terms of benefit is that it fosters diversity and exploration of other perspectives. So the issue of diversity in the M&A is very much important, because remember, you are working with different people. And if you don't allow different views to come in that process, you are likely to fail. So what M&E does is that it allows these different players to work as a team and make sure that the diversity in terms of the ideas, in terms of the opinions, in terms of how the tools of collecting data, in terms of the source of data, in terms of all those things, can help you to make success in your project or policy or programs. And that is how we end this preview. And I want to encourage you to go and enroll for this free workshop that happens next week. But also note that on the 29th of June, we have a comprehensive M&E that will run for 5 days, and each day will be going for 3 hours. So that means your 15 hours on the M&E to be very much comprehensive. There will be tasks that will be performed so that all of you, when you leave there, you leave um, having really enhanced your knowledge. And thank you. I sign out.